Throughout the course of America's history, we have been relying on the work of immigrants ever since the 1920s. Immigrants fill up currently around 19% of the United States workforce, with them having various roles, with many saying they are taking up jobs. Since then, we have had many issues between citizens and immigrants about the future of immigrants in America. So what should we do? We should be thinking about simplifying the immigration process so that immigrants have easier access and chance to legally come to the United States. Currently, the immigration process takes a very long time, with many taking 8+ years to obtain their citizenship. The most common form of obtaining citizenship is called naturalization, in which they are to apply for their visa, which varies between every country of origin. After, they must be a lawful permanent resident for at least 3 to 5 years depending on their circumstances. With this being said, the immigration process is also very costly, with it costing at an average of $1,000 to $7,000, and more complex cases reaching that of tens of thousands. This is only for if you are to go through the process after you have already arrived in America. For those who try to enter the United States legally, are hit with a highly restrictive process in which a vast variety of immigrants who are excluded. With the context of how this all works out the way, let's get into the possible solutions to this issue. The Baker Institute proposes our first proposition to fixing these immigration issues. Expanding the eligibility of worker visas is the first step in increasing the amount of legalized immigrants in America. This would help cover many labor shortages, such as that covering healthcare, education, economists, and the agricultural sector. They specifically recommend expanding the eligibility of the TN visa, which allows non-citizens of America coming from Canada and Mexico to legally come to America and work high-skilled professions. They also recommend expanding the eligibility of H-2A and H-2B visas, which allows non-citizens of America in agricultural and non-agricultural sectors to work in the U.S. for temporary time. For our second point, we introduce the proposition from the Cato Institute. They introduce with saying we need to create a separate court solely for immigration. This would allow for more access to the court and consider them responsible for determining whether or not someone is removable after being detained by ICE. This would also make less wait times for those in the immigration process, as there will be more dedication into processing these applications. They also propose in restricting the authority of executive orders. We have seen that in Trump's recent presidency, he has basically restricted all legal immigration in America. This would allow for more access to legal immigration and further allow for more immigrants to be legalized. The Cato Association further goes to say that America benefits greatly from immigration and will continue to benefit from a reformation in its immigration process. To wrap this up, we went over what immigrants have to do currently in order to become a citizen and enter the United States legally. Next, we went over how expanding the eligibility of worker visas will increase the amount of legalized working immigrants in America, where both ends will benefit greatly. And lastly, we went over how making the immigration court independent will shorten wait times and create more opportunity for those detained by ICE, with also restricting executive, with the main example being Trump and his executive orders making legal immigration almost impossible.